All right, you're live, buddy.
Okay, welcome to the Friday edition of Richardson Plano Networkers, and we have a well-known and a good friend today as our guest speaker, Scott Schilling. I met Scott a few years ago when I early joined this group. He used to come to the Friday sessions. Then he became part of our Tuesday or Monday business growth networking, business growth insiders that used to meet at Jenna's office. And the thing that impressed me was, some people have something to say about everything, but some people have something to contribute about most everything. And Scott is one of those guys who has been around, really knows a lot about a lot of things, and he knows when to offer his opinion or offer his advice or his experience. He calls himself the significance expert. He's committed to providing inspired answers to today's challenge. He's also known as the master of more, or perhaps some would say the master of none. No, I'm only kidding, Scott. Scott helps people achieve more systematically, growing personally, professionally, financially, and spiritually. Through his TV show, podcasts, speaking, consulting, and coaching, Scott helps individuals and organizations, no matter where you or they are, in their path from survival to success to significance. Scott gives us the guidance, the direction, and the action steps necessary to get from where we are today to where we want to be. Scott brings a unique combination of 35 years of life experience in sales, marketing, and training to corporations, business owners, entrepreneurs, and individuals. He has presented at nearly 2,500 live events, sharing the stage with General Colin Powell, Rudy Giuliani, former First Lady Laura Bush, and many more. I know that you will enjoy whatever he's going to talk about today. Please put your hands together and welcome Scott Schilling.
Why, thank you, everybody. Greatly appreciated. I can hear that all on mute. That is awesome. No, I really appreciate it. Thank you, Randy. Very nice. And thank you, David, for the opportunity to be here. It's always fun to see everybody again. It's almost like we've been locked up for 30 days or more. I don't know. It's crazy. All of a sudden haven't seen anybody. I really appreciate the opportunity because when Dave reached out, he said, how are you staying connected in these times? And what's really phenomenal is I am probably more connected today than I have been in years and years and years. And I've been very fortunate to do multiple radio shows and TV shows and, Zooms and podcasts and, over the last little bit. And somebody said, how's your business? How's everything going? And I said, you know what? It's actually tremendously better than it's been in forever. And they said, well, what do you attribute that to? And the fact is, there's actually one thing to attribute it to: being locked up. What else you got to do, right? And so what you don't realize, and as wonderful is being in person and going to a lot of things. I know it's never happened in this group because everybody always shows up every Friday. You drive, I happen to live in Las Colinas, which is not near Plano Richardson. You drive to the event fully anticipating seeing somebody in particular, hoping to see somebody in particular, and then in fact get there. And unfortunately, that person may or may not have had some life issue come up and not be there. And it's not that there's not value in the other folks that are there, but you had something very specifically in mind for your business or whatever at that time. And unfortunately, then I know nobody's ever been on 635 in this town when there were actually cars on it, right? And so what you come to realize is we're amazingly adaptive as human beings. We're amazingly adaptive in our businesses. And I have gotten tremendously efficient. I literally have been doing Zooms a couple of weeks ago. Now I had to pare this back because it got a little crazy. I was literally doing a Zoom at the top of the hour, every hour from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. somebody reached out and said, I've done 12 Zooms this week. Oh my God, I'm just so worn out. I said, this week? I did that today. I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? And again, not trying to play numbers on top of anybody. That's not the point of it all. But it's just the business. Let's put it this way, and we all know this at this point, for God's sakes. Business will never be done the same going forward. Never, ever, ever will it return to the way it was done. It just won't. Think back, you don't have to go real far. Go back to 9/11 and what happened with the travel industry. Now, the travel industry became tremendously robust again. It just didn't come tremendously robust in the same way, right? There were modifications to everything. Well, quite frankly, with what's going on, and David mentioned it earlier, Zoom had 11 million users in December, and in March had 220 million. Just the fact that they could scale to that level that fast is mind-blowing. I mean, just that alone. Oh my God, right? But think of what that had to do to their systems, to everything that's involved in this. And so I guess what I really, a fair amount of what I wanted to share today is it starts really with an Einstein quote. And that is, in the midst of every crisis lies great opportunity. The reality is, while nobody would opt for what we're in the middle of right now, there's not anybody on this planet that I could imagine would say, gosh, I am so glad this happened. There's tremendous opportunity out there. Now, how do I know this to be true? Well, because throughout my life and throughout my career, I've taken those opportunities repeatedly. Anybody ever have a crap sandwich show up? Right. I guess that was a nice way of saying it. I'm not sure it was that nice, but it was better than what it could have been. The point is, have you ever had something not go the way you had planned? And if and the question is, what have you done about it? Well, you see right there, that's my new book that was supposed to be out before Christmas, by the way. For those of you like Karen, thank you for purchasing my book. You will now get it. The point is that the design was to have it out before Christmas. And novel things happened. Anybody ever have things happen in their life? I mean, so I was assigned the best editor I could possibly have for my book by the publisher. I mean, this was the Mac Daddy of all editors. And I got the book back and we were just about ready to pull the trigger on it. And I went through and there was 196 errors. Now, I don't know if that would bother anybody. I am not like OCD by any stretch of the imagination, but 196 seemed a little excessive to me. So caught it, detailed it all, sent it back, and it came back and they fixed most of them. But we did another review and there were 146 more. And it was like, okay, time out. What's going on here, right? And so it caused, in the middle of crisis, an opportunity. And so what I actually did is I outsourced a second editor. Cost more money, cost time, cost all sorts of different things that were not planned in. And this editor went to work and came back and at one point said, "This is good." And I went, "What?" And they went, do you realize how good this book is?" And I go, "Well, how the hell would I know that? I wrote it." I mean, you do your best. It's not like you're not trying to do your best, but you're so close to it, you don't know how anybody else is going to take it. I mean, it's just the way it works, right? And so I said, "No, I guess I don't know from your frame of reference." And they finally came back and said, "It's so powerful, I'm not going to let it out of here until it's perfect." Wow. Well, that was pretty cool, right? So now all of a sudden, totally different portion of what's going on starts to happen. Well, then you start to have some conversations about, well, could you expand this chapter just a little bit? And could you do this? And where could you go here? Again, all these opportunities started to show up. Well, then in the meantime, business started to show up. Well, isn't it funny that the business that showed up in my world was applicable to being in the book? So had the book been published, they wouldn't have been in the book. And so all of a sudden I had the ability to tweak and add a little thing there. And then we went here and then we went there. And then I started creating, if you see the pictures over here, those are bigger versions of memes that I've created over time. Now that's not for this particular book, but I started creating memes of what was in the book, some of the statements, because I was hearing these things like, well, that's pretty profound. Okay. Well, people could really be inspired if they heard that more often or whatever. So I started creating memes of some of the quotes and some of the things I had developed for the book. Well, all of a sudden I had about 20 of them. And I realized, so that I could post on social medias and different things to help drive the book potentially. And I realized I didn't have most of the ones that were from the book. These were just off the top of my head. It wasn't. So we started combing the book. So the editor's going, well, you don't have a meme of this one. And this is a pretty profound statement, right? And you don't have a meme of this one. This is a pretty profound statement. And also the next thing I knew, by the time I finished with that little process, I had 50 memes to promote the book. Well, now I'm sitting there and anybody ever have those created? You all of a sudden one day you do math. Let's see, I've got 50. There's 52 weeks in the year. I'm pretty close at this point, right? I did a little math and figured out if I do 2 more memes, I got enough for a year. And so I basically do 2 more memes. And then I realize, well, if I can do that, that's a 52-week journal to accompany the book. Now, this was never designed in, but now I could take the material that was there. Again, this crisis, this adversity has come along, but during that adversity, I was able to take that information and in fact, then create a 52-week action journal that had 52 weekly exercises, has 6 independent freestanding exercises that are repeatable, has all sorts of different things. All of a sudden, the next thing I know, my book goes from 180 pages to 192 pages, and I also have an accompanying 116-page action journal. Where did that come from? It came from adversity. It came from simply taking the next level of what was available at that time to just follow the path and go forward. Well, then we just kept on going and going and going. And as you can probably understand, that all of a sudden, well, now you're working so hard to scrub it and do everything, you realize that you can put this little tweak in or do this or add this thing. Well, then all of a sudden my editor said, there's no place in the book that promotes the journal. Well, hell, the journal didn't exist. Why would I write about it? Why would I write about something that didn't exist? But you understand how when you stay open to the possibilities in the midst of all this, you start to see what starts to come about. So anyway, of course, we had to stop it down and make sure that that was in. And then a business relationship happened. And then we put that in there and we did this. And all of a sudden, the next thing you know, people are sitting there going, oh my God, this is awesome. And you go, that is so wild. How did we get here from there? Well, you get here from there by being open and available to the whole thing. Well, then now I had read my own book so many different times, as had the editor. I actually figured out what the theme of the book was. Now, isn't that weird? Wouldn't you think you knew that before? I thought I did. But then I read the book so many different times and I figured out what the theme of the book was. And the theme of the book, very simply, is all things work together for my good. That's the whole theme of the book. All things work together for my good. Now, it doesn't say all things are good that work together for my good. It doesn't say everything's been just skippy along the way to make it good, right? It's all things come together. So again, it's really interesting. And again, it's not, I'm just using the book as kind of the metaphor for what's going on in the world right now. What you would find out, should you read the book, is that my entire 18-year professional speaking career launched because of the SARS virus. Now, how weird is that at a time like this, right? People are in, we just launched a new business a few months ago. They're saying, will you stop, launching businesses? You keep on causing viruses. No, I didn't cause the virus. It's the other way around, right? No, the point is, so somebody says, well, wait a second, unpack that for me. Again, it's one of the stories in the book, but very simply, I was the vice president of sales and marketing for a company in Dallas. I had a really good job. I probably played golf 3 days a week at least. But every time I created more business, I had more work to do. Anybody ever been in that situation where you just keep on driving more business, but when you drive the business, you also have to fulfill it and do all the work to support that business. You're not getting paid anymore. You just keep on working harder and harder and harder. And I was playing less and less golf, and that's just unacceptable. That just wasn't working. No, what really happened was I made the decision, and again, this is an important point. I made the decision that I wasn't fulfilled in what I was doing. Even though I got paid fairly well, even though I played a lot of golf, I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't living to my own potential of my potential, what I believed that I could do. And so I said, I could, I've always been a sales trainer. I mean, I've been a sales trainer. I was a national sales trainer at 25. So just a few years ago. But the point is that some of you are really bad at math. Anyway, the point is that training has always been a love, and always been getting in front of a room has always been what I've done. That wasn't the issue, but I just wasn't doing it all the time. And I felt that if I went out speaking professionally, I could help more people. And this is one of the things, as we become more mature, that's code word for old. As we become more mature, we start to decide it's time to give back, right, Randy? That we're in that give back stage in our life, or we're getting closer to it, or whatever that case might be. Well, this was 18 years ago, so I was not obviously as old as I am now, but I still felt like I wasn't living as fulfilled as I could be based on the talents and capabilities I had been granted by God, by my higher source. And so I made the decision that I wanted to go out speaking professionally. So a friend of mine owned a seminar company. And I said, hey, if you ever have an opening, it is my desire to become a professional full-time speaker. I would love to have the opportunity if there's ever an opening. And he said, okay, I'll remember that. You know how friends kind of say that stuff and then they never remember that? He actually remembered it. He called me one day and he said, were you serious about taking an open spot if I had one? I said, absolutely. He goes, well, I don't have one. And I said, well, that's mean. And he goes, no, I got two. I go, what? He said, I don't have one open spot. I have two open spots. I'll give you both and I'll pay you for both if you want them. I was like, are you kidding me? This is awesome. What a break. Not only do I get one paid gig, I get two paid gig at the exact same place, one set of expenses. This is going to be amazing. Where is it? Toronto in 6 weeks. Toronto. Was Toronto in the news? Was there something coming out of Toronto? He goes, oh, you want to know why the spots are open? And I said, well, sure, why not? And he said, I had two speakers cancel. And I said, why did the two speakers cancel? So you haven't seen the news. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, the SARS virus has hit Toronto. That's where the event is. And I had two speakers say, I will not go on stage because I am not going to risk my life for you. And I said, well, that's kind of a mean way of saying that. And he said, well, I didn't like it either, but I got 2 spots. Do you want them? And I said, hell yes. And he goes, are you serious? I said, of course I'm serious. I can either die on stage or die of SARS. Let's go. I mean, this is going to launch my career. And so in the midst of crisis lies great opportunity. So I took advantage of that. I went to Toronto, and of course we didn't know about social distancing back in 2003. We didn't really probably know about much of nothing at that point. But the point is, we were in the midst of it, and we were right downtown in Toronto. We were probably in what you would now say one of the worst areas based on what's the way that they're addressing COVID. And anyway, so I get to do my 2 events. And as I'm speaking in the first one, in walks Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, the co-creators and co-founders of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Interesting. So I'm up there speaking. Here are my first professional audience. Now, I've been in front of people. That wasn't the issue. First time that I'm actually doing this in the career that I'm getting paid for now, right, or working to get paid for. And in come Jack and Mark. I mean, other than the Bible, nobody has sold more books on the planet. I mean, this is high tide, high royalty here, right? So they come in and they listen to the first presentation, and before I finish, they walk out. So I was like, all in the same one. It's really exciting. They're here. Oh crap, they left. But then not too long after that, I had to give the second one in a different room. So I changed rooms and I got all set and I had my back turned. And as I got called up on stage, here are Jack and Mark in the back of the room. They had to find me. This is pretty cool. What's going on here, right? Well, basically the bottom line is I did the second one, and afterwards they walked up to me and Jack thumped me on the chest, in the sternum. You ever had that? It hurts like hell. Just pumped me right on the sternum. And he goes, son, and I love telling this story because Jack Canfield called me son. I love that. Anyway, he said, son, God's granted you talents and capabilities he hasn't given the average person. And if you don't use those talents and capabilities, you're robbing humanity, you're cheating humanity. In fact, you're being selfish. I went, damn, back off, dude. I don't even know you. Being kind of hard on a fella, aren't you? And he said, you need to be out here doing this full time. And I said, well, that's truly my desire. I just haven't made that decision yet. He said, when are you going to decide? I said, well, I've got a job. He goes, that's a horrible answer. He said, when are you going to decide? I said, I guess I'm going to decide right now. He said, so what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go home and I'm going to resign and I'm going to go speaking professionally. And that's what I did. Now, during that same talk, they said, when God grants you talents and capabilities, you've got the obligation to use them fully. And quite frankly, you're not taking advantage of that, and you're not making the money you've been granted to make. And I said, oh, it's all about the money. Don't ever say that to those guys. That was really a dumb thing to say. Because they said, you think this is all about the money? I mean, they got really upset with me really fast. And I said, well, yeah, you're this big professional speaking duo with all your books. And I figured you'd say it's about the money. You think it's about the money? It's not about the money. It's about the 2 things that come with money: the influence you can have and the good you can do. And if you're not utilizing all the talents and capabilities you've been granted, Again, you're robbing humanity. You're cheating humanity. You are being personally selfish. Wow. You don't think that made an impression? Here's the reality of what we're going through right now on the planet. Personally, I believe we're going through the middle of a reset. I think God got sick and tired of the way everybody was acting and sent us all to our room in a timeout. He said, you go think about this for a while because you ain't been doing it very nice for quite a while. You've gotten a little bit out of control. You live with somebody, you haven't told them you loved them in like 20 years. You know, your roommates. Go tell your spouse you love them. Go hug a kid. If it's not yours, hug one. You know, give somebody some love. Do the different things that you're meant to do. Become a little gentler. Become a little kinder. Go help some people. Guess what? You know, I'm going to throw you some things that you never used to have. I'm going to give you the ability to not have to go to the pancake house for your meeting. I'm going to give you the ability to sit in the comfort of your own home so that you can go do a meeting and still be connected with your friends and your business associates and have the opportunity to have those deep relationships. And as soon as you're done with that, I'll give you the opportunity to go hug your kids. And you don't have to get in a car to do it. See, for those that are paying attention right now, I think they're starting to realize what we can do and where we can go. And I'm doing a lot of training right now. I'm doing a lot of working with people, a lot of consulting, a lot of sharing with people. And people say, you know, what's the biggest problem with business right now? The biggest problem with business right now is everything's free. Guess what? As a small business owner or an entrepreneur, you ain't got enough free. You can't out free the bigger guys. It ain't going to happen. So you got to go old school, which is why I like to see some of the more mature folks on this call because they get this. Jim Rohn said it many years ago. It's not about price. It's about value. Add value to everybody's life wherever you can. See, because it's value that determines the price they will pay. It's not the price. Because the reality is everybody's giving away stuff free right now. Some of the best trainers in the world are giving away stuff free. You know, I think I can hold my own with virtually anybody out there training. Now, that's awesome that I believe that. And I believe my clients believe that. But I can tell you there are people who outmarket me like 2 gazillion to 1. And because they have the greater marketing ability, they're more known than I am. Well, if I'm free and they're free, who wins? Let me just tell you, it ain't me. It just doesn't work that way. So one of the things that we can do with our business is provide more value as we go along and recognize that that's one of the opportunities that comes out of this crisis. What does that mean? What can you do? Let's go back to the action journal that I created with the book. It wasn't because I was like looking for something to do. I was working to create more value so that you could now apply the knowledge or the information that was available so that it would work more specifically for you. I mean, in order to get the points across that I had to in my book, I had to share a lot about my personal experiences. Now, the book really isn't, nor do I want it to be about me. But in order to get the experiences across, it has to be kind of about you. But it's not. It's about the lessons and the value that come out of the lessons. By the way, the title of the book is That Sucks, What Now? Real World Solutions for Getting Through What You're Going Through. That's why it was held until now to release, because we're all in the middle of those "that sucks" moments. Now, to me, that's not a negative title in the very least. "That sucks" simply says, I wish it would have happened differently than this. And the what now is no time to sit and be sad about it. What are you going to do about it? What action will you take going forward? And so, again, I applaud all of you for being here, because you're taking an action to stay engaged, to be engaged, to do the different things you can do at this point to stay connected, be connected, whatever. See, I think we had this thing way wrong out of the blocks, and I think we've got it so buried into people's heads right now that they can't figure it out. This isn't about social distancing. This is about physical distancing and being social from a distance. And had we talked about physical distancing, it would have had a totally different connotation in the marketplace. For safety, we need to physically distance 6 feet. That has zero to do with social distancing. Very poor wordsmithing by whoever figured that one out, quite frankly. And so, again, I would encourage you that it's about physical distancing. Well, we all got that covered. But it's not about social distancing. Don't even let that creep into your spirit. It's just actually the opposite. One of the things that I do, and I suggest in the book, is I take my phone and I go to my contact list and I just go zing and I stop. And whatever name it comes up on, I call. And I hope like hell they don't answer. Because what I do is I say, hey, this is Scott Schilling. Karen, this is the president of your fan club. You are absolutely freaking awesome. Are you kidding me? I hope you're having an amazing day. I can't wait till we meet again. God bless. And I hang up. And then I go zing, and I do it again. And I do it again. Now, you can do it one a day for 5 days. You can do 5 in a row. You can do all sorts of different things. But let me tell you the phone calls you get back after they ask you if you're crazy. No, the calls you get back is, how did you know I needed that today? See, that's what's going on. We do need to be physical distancing to crush this thing. But we do not, unfortunately, I think there's some people who are trying to crush some spirits on the social distancing thing. Not going to get political, not going that, I just trying to say our spirits do not need to be socially distanced. Our spirits need to be socially closened. We need to come together more at this time so that we can preserve our history. What's Carl going to talk about if this thing gets all screwed up any worse than it is? Right? We got to make sure that we support this great nation and what's going on. And the fact is that we've got to support the people who deserve to be supported, which is, quite frankly, everybody on this planet. This is about returning respect, honor, and dignity to the planet. We have that opportunity because that's a choice on our side. We have the choice. Choice is an amazing thing. Are you stuck at home right now? Or are you safe at home right now? It's a choice. You're at home either way. But are you safe at home or are you stuck at home? Think of all the different things like that that you can look at and in turn modify it in such a way that, you know, if people sit there and say, Scott, are you like this all the time? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when somebody says, Scott, how are you? What's my answer? Fabulous, but I'll get better. I've said it that way for a gazillion years. It wasn't too long ago I figured out why I started doing that. Because the first time I ever met Zig Ziglar, I said, Zig, how you doing? He goes, I'm better than good. And I said, well, number one, I'm not from Texas. Number two, if I say that, I'll sound really stupid. So I got to figure out something else to say. So I started saying fabulous, but I'll get better. But let me tell you how that changes the state of the person who hears it every time you do it. When Dave called the other day, and he'll verify this, I answered, Dave Roberts Fan Club, Scott Schilling, president. How can I be of service? That's a choice. People say, first they laugh, then they go, God, I love calling you. I forget that you do that every time. Man, thank you so much. Do you understand? We're working so hard to work hard. Why are we working so hard to work hard? Why don't we have a little fun in what we're doing? We've got such a great opportunity. I truly believe we have the opportunity to come out of this so much better for the experience if we choose to. But it's a choice. We can sit here and go, oh my God, my finances are crap, and oh, this is terrible, and oh my God, and it went backwards, and I don't know what I'm gonna do from this point forward. How about doing something you love? Stop doing the crap you hate. So many people are employed where they hate being employed. Well, you have the opportunity to change that. Well, but that would, so which part of scarcity thinking and lack thinking do you want to go with? Or you could say, you know what, out of crisis comes great opportunity. What do I want to do? What do I truly want to do? What makes my heart go pitter pat? Where could I really go with all this? So again, and I'm not working to preach here. I'm just working to share some ideas that I've lived through all this. I lived through a near-death experience 5.5 years ago. I heard the doctors for the first 8, 9, 10 days. Here's almost the only thing the doctor said to me. Do you realize you shouldn't be alive right now? For 8 days. To which on the 8th day, I finally said, sorry to disappoint you. I'm an overachiever. I lived. And that's the way I started describing the incident from that point forward. See, because it was my choice. I could take that and then use it for other people. I can't tell you how many people that, as I've come off stage or I've done whatever, their statement is, thank you. You changed my life today. Geez, what did I do? I don't know. There was something you said that gave me that one piece. If that's what I did, I'm honored. Thank you for the opportunity to do that. See, but I'm no different than anybody on this call. You all have that same opportunity. I just choose to do what I do. You know, not everybody likes it. Not everybody, I think we had more participants at one time. Somebody probably goes, I am so tired of this guy. I am out of here. Cool. I've won exactly 100% of my audiences exactly never. No, nor do I believe I ever will. But what I do believe is that I'm going to do everything to give you as much as I can from my heart, the very best way I can, to encourage you to take it and at least consider it. You're not going to do what I want you to do. You're not going to do it for my reasons. I love what Randy's doing. The last time Randy and I talked, you know, you were heading down that path, but I don't think you had fully gotten there yet. But I love the fact that you're there now. You know, it's so intriguing. The things that I want to do, you know, with the new book, it's so fascinating. Let me tell you about the marketing plan for my book. I don't have one. So now it's only taken me 5.5 years to get a book that's really freaking good with no marketing plan. Until I decided to send one to a friend of mine, a new friend. And she read the first part of it and she said, I hope it's okay. Today she called me just before this call, actually. She said, I hope it's okay what I did. I go, well, that's an interesting way to open the call. Would you like to let me know what you did? She said, I sent messages to 100 PR agencies, including Oprah's book club and the people I know there, and suggested they have you on the show. She's already booked me for 4 shows. in less than 6 hours. Not Oprah, by the way, but I'm just saying, because I'm just trusting that, in fact, now, do I need to create a program? Yes, of course I need to create a program and go do all that. I'm not trying to suggest don't do all that. I'm just saying that if you would trust higher source, if you would trust your heart, trust your gut, trust what you know to be true, trust what you know is the right way to deal with people in your business, trust all of that, respect, honor, dignity, people will come flocking to you. You don't necessarily have to market a lot if they want you. Now, if you're trying to force your stuff down their throat, it's also there is a yin and a yang, right? The inverse is also true. They will run from you. And then you go, I don't understand. They just don't get the value of what I'm doing. No, they just don't want to be hounded. There's a hassle factor. Stop it. Stop hassling people, right? So I know there's been a lot of stuff back and forth, and I've meandered a little bit. It's kind of the way I coach too. I coach intuitively, and I just sometimes process intuitively. Hopefully there's been a few things here that have landed for you, or at least created some consideration, or gosh, maybe a question or two out of it all. I see that there's 17 in the chat. Hopefully those are all nice things and not being nasty. But really, again, I guess, Dave, we wanted to save a little time to open it up, right, for questions or comments like that.
We'll open it up. We've got about we're at 12:51, so we've got about 9 minutes. I'll need about 5 minutes at the end just to kind of completely land the plane and tell them where we go next. So
sure.
So if you have a question,
how can I be of service?
If you have a question in the chat, you can raise your hand or you can wave at me. Randy has a question. Randy, I'm going to go ahead and open your mic. I know you're unmute.
Scott, two things. Number one, thank you for the compliments. It means a great deal to me, really does. Great talk. And while you were talking and still paying attention, I did go to the only two places that I could find that sell your book, and both are sold out with no redistribution date.
Well, you can go to tswnbook.com. tswnbook.com. That sucks. What now? Book.com. Oh. tswnbook.com.
I fell for that, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Anybody else?
That's where the journal is as well.
Okay.
Anybody else? I'm scanning the group here. Any other questions? Scott, I want to say I'm glad that you're here. Let me see. I saw Ricky Jean raise his hand, but there's so many. As we talked about this story, it's incredible how even those random calls can be divine appointments. So
there's not a doubt.
I'm so thankful for your willingness to share. Ricky Jean, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, I need for you to tell us again, so that we can quote you and use your name. I think you said, don't fall for this social distancing concept. It's physical distancing as we stay social. Is that what you said?
Yes. As we stay socially connected.
Socially connected. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I think that there's a unfortunate, again, I think there are agendas. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to say who's got what agenda. I think there's a lot of them, but I think the reality is here's the agenda I'm on. Love thy neighbor, treat them with dignity, honor, and respect, lift them up whenever you can, and understand that when you do that, everything for you will be okay. I don't think it's any more complex than that. And I know that's, maybe a little simplistic, but I truly believe that that's the way it is. I've lived this stuff. I can tell you. So one of the memes is there's a direct correlation between the level of my surrender and the velocity of my blessings. And it is what it is. It is the more that the harder I worked, the busier I got, the more I tried, the less stuff happened. And when I just released it and just surrendered it and said, you know what, I'm here to do good works and serve as many people as I possibly can. And whatever that means, I'm good with. All of a sudden it opened up and stuff starts to change. Now, do not for a minute think my life is perfect.
Amen.
My life is jacked up. But guess what? I also know it'll be okay in just a little bit, because it always is. I'm in the middle of it. It's easy to determine where you're supposed to go in the beginning. It's easy once you've gotten there to go look back. It's in the middle where you've really got to have the faith in yourself, in your compatriots, in your higher source, in everything around you. It's in the middle of it all where nothing is solidified yet. That is always the hardest time. We're all in the middle. Stop, but I'm not far enough along. How do you know? You're in the middle. You don't know that yet. You're not at the start and you're not at the end. So you're in the middle. Allow the middle to play out and just keep on moving forward daily.
All right. That's incredible, Scott. We'll do the virtual chat here. I'm applauding. I'm not going to open up all the mics because it gets a little cacophonous there with all the folks here on the call.
That is a big word.
And yeah, so I've learned those big words here in my sequester. So I'm learning all kinds of things, including how to do audio and everything. So I want to encourage you guys. Good crowd here today. Encourage you to share this. This is going to be, it is recorded, and we'll be sharing it on the Facebook group once I get the video
Awesome.
produced out of Zoom, and then anybody can share that with those who you think. I think it was extremely inspirational. I knew it would be. Scott knows I handpicked the speakers during this time to ensure that we were all encouraged and got our little or maybe a lot of injection of value and encouragement to kind of really focus on the doors that are opening in front of us and not on the ones that just closed behind us, right? And so Scott has a expiring message, and I will tell you that if you want to hear more of Scott, Tuesday we're recording the next episode of Warrior versus Zombie. So there's another reason for you to subscribe to that, and I can't wait to actually have a conversation with Scott, because we've had some pretty amazing conversations that I think you'll enjoy. So I expect that the hardest thing about that episode to record is going to be to keep it in the 45-minute time frame that I target for those. Next Friday, in our Stay Connected and Thrive series, we have Shannon McGraw. Those of you who know her, she's part of the network. She's also part of Hopeful Hearts, has a great ministry mindset, has probably 10,000 people that follow her and a lot of the stuff she does. She'll be sharing her message during this time. She's also been one of my podcast guests, so if you want to get some insight into her, you can look at that. So Shannon McGraw. Next Wednesday we have our Richardson Plano Networkers meeting, and then next Saturday for the men in the room or on the call here, we are going to do another Zoom men's breakfast network. So grab your breakfast and your coffee and come and join us. And we had a great one last month. And like Scott said, I think that's a beautiful, beautiful way to end this. Is we have to stay physically disconnected, physically spaced, because we are required to take care of each other. But we also need to take care of each other by being socially connected, not disconnected. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a beautiful message. If you took nothing away from today, take that. For those who didn't get a chance to announce, go ahead and post your information. I'll give a few minutes after I end this. It is now 12:58. I got a couple of minutes. If you have announcements, you can post them in the chat if there's something, offers, links, whatever. You also have access if you're part of this group, which all of you are, whether you realize it or not. If you've been joined us in person, and this I consider in person, is you are eligible to join the private Facebook group, and you can share your announcements. One of the things Scott said, which is really powerful, and one of the things you've heard us talk about a lot, if you're not sharing your value to the world, then you're being selfish. And even if it's something that somebody has to pay you for, if it's of great value, then you need to be sharing it. And we want to encourage that in Richardson Plano Networkers. So don't be shy. Spam is quite different. When you give somebody something they're not looking for and you beat them up, that's a lot different equation. We are very sensitive about that, but I don't want to be so sensitive about that we don't encourage each of you to take your new ideas, to take the things that you're doing here and put them out to this group. We're the extension of your marketing team. The people I fully expect, I shared with this group, I'd like to have some people, subscribe to my podcast. I need it. Ricky Jean, we put it out that he needed some subscribers on his YouTube channel. We got to 100 like within 24 hours. It was great. And it's not just this group, but that's part of what we do. So it's 1:00. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Scott, let's thank you.
My pleasure.
Amazing. And I'm so thankful that everybody's chosen to invest this most valuable part of their life, their time, in being with us for this hour. So I love you guys. I can't wait to see you again. Have a beautiful weekend and enjoy the weather. If you're in Dallas, it looks like it's going to be awesome. So have a good one, guys.
Perfect. See y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank
You
you,
guys are
Scott.
awesome.
Thank you, Dave.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Everybody's unmuted, so you can say goodbye as you go.
Bye.
Ciao.
Everybody, cheers. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks. Thank you, Randy. Thanks, Dave. Thanks for everything. Appreciate it, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Go
you.
Tigers, Bob.
Yeah, I'll call you soon.
All right.
Hey,
Good.
Marv.
See you in a little bit, Marv.
Oh, Marv. Hey, you want to do some more water? He's not. I don't know if he heard me.
Still there, Luke? Are you gone?
Hey, Marv. This is Dave.
I'm here. Where'd he go? That's okay. I'll talk to him on his phone.
No, Marv.
No problem.